Korbuly-Johnson. Are you ready to be a dangerous consumer?
Yeah.
Yes. Alrighty. I'm going to be talking to you today about two scenarios because I personally needed to improve on them and just get more out of life that way, and two scenarios that also deeply impacted me. Organic food, and current events. But how did I get the words dangerous consumer? Let's go back about, well, till 1993 when I was a junior at the U of M, my Spanish class, favorite professor, and I remember we were analyzing literature. Never knew how much that moment would impact me in class, but Professor Zaharias had said to me in Spanish and to the rest of the class, "You need to be a dangerous reader." What do you mean? Don't believe everything that you read. Be a critical thinker. What's embarrassing is that until that point, I had been used to analyzing literature in the sense of whose side to take, or how they said something, or the context, and then writing a nice essay and talking about the essay. It never crossed my mind to think, is it true what I'm reading? Or where the information come from? Well, fast forward to this year, and it came across my mind again. Two scenarios we're going to be talking about where you want to be a dangerous consumer, to not believe everything you read, whether it's current events or whether you are reading a package that has produce in it. My only objective today is to build your awareness. You make your own decisions whether what you're about to buy or read fits your needs. In my case, my ignorance costed me a sale in one scenario, and in the other scenario, I was part of the slanted news inadvertently. You're going to hear a little bit about organics, an overview, and then you'll have a group an activity, kind of a quiz, and then you will be learning a little bit about how to analyze the news differently, and have another activity, and then we'll end. Imagine me in a huge warehouse. I'm talking with a consumer as I'm doing food marketing. I've got some samples, and I have people asking me questions about products. It's really fun, and yet I get the question over and over if I'm not mentioning that it's organic. Is it organic? Or they look at the package and they say, well, that one's organic, if the one I'm holding isn't. I'm thinking, this is really annoying. What is the big deal about organic anyway? And does it really need to be? I have coconut water that day. A customer looks at what I have and says, well, this one's more expensive, but this one's organic and that one isn't. Thanks anyway. They take a swig of the organic water, the coconut water. And I thought, dang it, there goes my quota for the day. Oh well, I wish I knew a little bit more just to give them a better answer. Next customer comes for the same product category, same day. Oh, this is my favorite coconut water. I drink this all the time. I grew up with this. Where I am from India, coconuts grow abundantly. This is beautiful. Oh, I'm so excited you are producing this today. Oh, yay, you've sold me. Although I already buy it, but oh, I love this stuff. Oh, thank you, sir, so much. Oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe what just happened. You just made my confidence go back up. I just had a customer who gave me the riot act because, well, I happen to be standing right next to this product, and it's not organic, and organic, that's just marketing hype. You don't have to have organic for coconuts. They grow abundantly. They've got a thick skin. Who cares? Really? It's just marketing hype. I wouldn't worry about it. And I thought, what else am I missing? You're going to be taking a pop quiz. Now, if you got test anxiety, just think of it in terms of broadening your horizons. You have a sheet of paper, so you will turn that over. Well, actually, yeah, it's supposed to be blank is the point, yes. So go to the blank side. We are going to go over what is known as the Dirty Dozen. This is from the Environmental Work Group. It's a great resource for all things organic and clean, whether it's makeup, food, you name it. Plus my friend Michelle Licata, who's an excellent chef as well as knows organics inside out. What you're going to do is write down 12 fruits and veggies you can think of that you think have been spritzed like crazy with pesticide. And on a side note, if you're wondering what qualifies as organic, farming that doesn't use pesticides and uses crop rotation to make sure that the soil is healthy. By crop rotation, I mean the farmer doesn't grow tomatoes in that field over and over and over.
But you want what we think is like not organic, just.
Correct.
Okay.
The 12, what they call the Dirty Dozen. What are the most pesticide-laden fruits and veggies you can think of? Doesn't matter what the order is for now. And I'll give you 3 minutes. And on a side note, if you happen to be watching this on my YouTube channel, then comment below, besides clicking like and subscribe, comment below what you think are the Dirty Dozen, the 12 dirtiest fruits and veggies. You have about a minute left. Seconds. All righty. Are we ready for the answer? Number 1. Now once again, I didn't mind what order you put them in just to see how many of these you got right. Check it off if you got it right and give yourself a yay. Number 1, for the Dirty Dozen, in the order of which is the most pesticide laden. Strawberries. Number 2, spinach. Number 3, a mix of kale, collard, and mustard greens. Number 4, nectarines. 5, apples. Number 6 is grapes. Number 7 is cherries. Number 8 is peaches. Number 9 is pears. 10 is bell and hot peppers. 11 is celery. And 12 is tomatoes. Let's take a nice look at that. You might even want to write down environmental work groups so that you can get a great wallet-sized list. How did we do with having 1 right? Woo! More than 2 right? More than 6 right? Wow! Woohoo! Yay! They also have a Clean 15 list, just so you know that they have great resources. The point of it is not only to raise your awareness of what the dirtiest are, but to help you decide maybe what's the most important for you when it comes to buying them. What do you do if it breaks the bank to buy the organics? What you can do is technically to wash off some of those pesticides. I am partially in agreement with this procedure because it does come from a good resource, but I also am somewhat hesitant since I know that there is cross-spraying, etc. You make your own decision. The idea in general, if it's too small to read, is you either use a water and vinegar mixture, salt water, or baking soda and water. So some sort of corrosive element in water for about 20 minutes of soaking. Careful though if you have berries or grapes, because it can impact the skin. I personally have a hard time with washing produce other than maybe apples or something sturdy, because I'm sort of rough on our produce. And I might even lose track of time. I try to get them pre-washed. But seriously, if you're really diligent, this might be an answer for you, other than obviously raising your own food, or maybe going to a co-op where you know that the produce has been raised sustainably. Purpose again is to be a dangerous consumer and think, how important is it for you that it is organic? Now the last point I want to mention about this is, if your reason for buying organic is not just to keep yourself healthy, but for the environment. What I see over and over is parents or grandparents buying the organics in the name of the children and the environment. Well, as a master recycler and composter, I can tell you how some of those packages are not recyclable. Let's think of, now I don't know if Juicy Juice is actually organic, but that has 7 layers of packaging. Ain't no way in heck that's going to be recycled. Take a good look at the packaging if it says that it's organic, that the food is organic. If it's in a styrofoam container like a lot of those little bite-sized foods are for 2-year-olds, there is not a market for styrofoam. If it's heavily laden in plastic, or in even a, let's say a bag of chips, and it says industrial composting possible. Unless you are in an industrial facility that does composting and buying those chips, it's going to stay in the garbage can. Make sure that the reason you're buying organic is for your own health and not so much for whether it gets recycled, because even though the organic side might be great for the environment, the packaging itself might wreck the whole thing. Since the markets change constantly, I would not even use that as a reason for buying the product. Oh, it's not only it's organic, but this package, well, that just nullified the whole thing. It just incenses me when I see that a person is trying to do good and then they chuck it. I'm thinking, well, so much for the organic part then. Do you want to feed the landfill, which leaches into your water that you drink? Or do you want to feed the soil? It's tough. Just be a dangerous consumer. And then there was a scenario, since we're talking about washing produce, there was a scenario that made me want to take a shower, I felt so gross after it. It was about the news. I was helping to bias the news. How embarrassing. Seriously, the scenario just made me just go, ew! I was a shopper in Cub Foods, had my mask on like everyone else, and I was approached with a question. I was really excited. I had never been interviewed. And the reporter from the Star Tribune, who will remain nameless, had asked me, what do you think about buying your shoes in the same place where you buy your food? I mean, what do you think of that? I don't know, it sounds kind of gross to me. I don't think so. Well, little did I know that Hy-Vee was about to do that. And I was so taken by the whole experience, so quick that looking at his face, I mean, granted, yes, we had the masks on, so all I could see was the eyes. But you know, the saying that eyes are the mirror of the soul, and his eyes were just contorted to this disgusting, this feeling of, oh, what do you think of that? So I, as a monkey, imitating what I saw, said, ugh. Well, guess what happens next day in the paper? Well, didn't you know they're already doing that? Target's already selling shoes like that. I thought, yeah, sure, I knew that. I had just been imagining someone taking off their shoes, their smelly feet, right next to the tomatoes that I'm so excitedly buying. It just made my stomach turn. Wouldn't it have been nice if he had just asked more objectively, like, what do you think? Having the sale of shoes right next to produce. Objective. No. I was so mad later. I even contacted him. I said, it'd be really nice if you'd be more objective about your journalism. Not only that, but thanks to my meditation practice, I've gained even more awareness of situations. I recently realized he already had a person who liked the idea. He needed to show the flip side. He wanted to find someone who would be his victim. Someone who would say, ew! So naturally, he put on the ick eyes. And I thought, I've been had. I was so mad. So I had to talk about being a dangerous consumer, because then somebody consumed the wrong information. For the record, I really don't care as long as those shoes are on the opposite end of the produce, so I don't have to smell your feet that you were trying the shoes on with, okay? How are you going to be a dangerous consumer of news? First, just knowing how it can be slanted, because unless you hear the interviewer and see the interviewer, you don't know how the questions are being pitched. You also can notice how articles are written. In addition to that nasty situation I had, I also want to just be better informed about current affairs. I want to read more, and so I thought, well, start by at least analyzing how things are written to get yourself more involved. I'm already an analyst type of mind anyway, might as well use that to my advantage. What you're going to do is analyze an article. I can read this aloud. This is just the overview. Actually, I will read this aloud. And what you'll do is you'll turn your papers over. The way I chose this article was simply, what was a long enough article that gives us a chance to look at adjectives, verbs, whatever part of speech or part of the writing that might indicate an opinion other than neutral. I was not looking at, is the newspaper leftist, rightist? I honestly don't even know the difference at this point, because I just don't think that way. People ask me, are you conservative or liberal? I get so confused by these terms, I just say, ask me about a certain topic, I'll tell you my opinion, then you can decide which side I'm on. I really don't care. For those who are watching on YouTube and would love to know what we are analyzing, because you will each write or circle words that you find that you deem to be making the article slanted in some way. This is from St. Cloud. An emergency 3-week ordinance requiring people to wear face coverings inside public spaces in St. Cloud failed Monday night during a tense meeting where the presiding council member had to slam his gavel a handful of times to silence some of the few dozen onlookers interrupting the discussion. The emergency ordinance required approval by 5 of the 7 members of St. Cloud City Council. It failed on a 4-2 vote with Council President Jeff Borger absent. Our medical community is asking for our help, and I think it's incumbent upon us to help them out, said Carol Lewis, who asked that the mandate discussion be put on the agenda. We need to do better. Council members Mike Conway and Paul Brandmeier voted against the mandate, which came as a request by the area's largest healthcare system more than 2 weeks ago. COVID has been dangerous to our population. No one denies that Centricare is working hard. But the question before us tonight was about the wearing of masks to prevent spread, Brandmeier said. I've yet to see a reliable study which proves that masks have any impact whatsoever. Conway said a 3-week mandate isn't going to change anything. The numbers are already starting to go down, he said. The last paragraph says, Mayo Clinic's COVID-19 model is predicting the state's latest wave of coronavirus infections will peak this week and then rapidly decline. But health leaders, including Dr. George Morris of Centricare, have stressed how hospitalizations and deaths can continue to increase for a few weeks after the peak. Now for the next 4 minutes, let's have you look at the article, read it, and highlight what you deem is slanted in any way. There's no right or wrong, it's more a matter of building awareness. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt, but of course, comment below if you're watching on video. Thank you. about.
Lily, I've read through this probably at least 3 or 4 times in that time. And so I'm gonna be really interested and enlightened by what everybody else says. But I had a hard time picking things that I thought were slanted because I think that we all have our own personal opinions about this topic. And sometimes our opinions can influence our perception of how something may be slanted. You know, how a certain phrase may rub us the wrong way. But yet, it's not slanted. It just rubs us the wrong way because it somehow doesn't maybe support our own opinions. So that's why I said this is a really interesting question because I really studied this. I wanted to engage and participate with your question and activity, and I personally couldn't find it. I think there are fair statements such as, we need to do better. Well, you know, what does that mean? You know, I don't think it's slanted in any way. Or, you know, there are other things that jumped out on me, but I thought, is that just not maybe aligned with my personal opinion? You know what? It doesn't have to be aligned with my personal opinion. A fair statement is a fair statement, no matter which way, which perception it is, if that makes sense. So I don't really hear what everybody else says.
I'm with you, Natalia, but I rated, what I picked out was trigger words.
Trigger
So when
word.
I see a word emergency, there's an emergency 3-week ordinance requiring a meeting, or it's a tense meeting. He had to slam his gavel multiple times. It's the largest healthcare system in the world. I don't know, that when I see those, I feel like that instills fear, or
Yes.
and you know, and it's like, oh my gosh, we have a pandemic, which we do. But you know what I mean? And so do I look at it as, it could have been, I mean, when the writer is looking to get a particular reaction out of the reader by the words that they're using, trigger words, that's how I read it.
I picked up on that. I did pick up on that. But yet, you know, if he slammed the gavel, well, he did that. How do you argue with that fact? I don't like it either because it incites that emotion, those trigger words, you know, with my opinion. But I can't argue with fact. He slammed it. There is an emergency, but it doesn't say that fair.
And I'm gonna take issue with your interpretation of the word slam. Slam could mean many things. It is an inflammatory word. He could have just wound up from the backside and went bam. Or he could have, as I've seen in court many times, just a light tapping. And that's considered a slam. So it's a matter of interpretation. I see this as reporting what happened there. Some of these statements I vehemently disagree with. But if that's what the guy said, that's what the guy said. And if this is a reflection, what this person said may be a reflection, forgive me here, of his stupidity. Okay, or his ignorance.
Could be.
I just see it as just an article.
I've read this article probably more than anybody else in this room, including Lili. And I've looked at this, and what it is, and it is, everybody's right, by the way. On this whole, everything you're saying is 100% right. And it is actually, I was amazed at how balanced it was, that it showed both sides, which I told Lili, I said, I'm praising this guy because he's actually pretty balanced in playing both sides of the thing. The thing is that that's also causing separation of us too. And it follows up with, I'm sure what John will be talking about, and what Lili's been talking about, is the sensationalism of the news. And it actually tells a good story, an intriguing story, but it's not necessarily something that's working well in these times because we are so polarized. Thank you. Exactly, that's the whole thing. So that's.
I picked up on those words, Cindy, too. I thought those were emotional triggers.
That's right, because exactly, you know, and I come from a technical writing background, and so that wasn't, it's like, for me, when I'm writing, it's like, don't put my opinion in the story and try to be very biased. And I agree with everyone that this is a good article and to see both sides. that's what
Yeah.
that's what I just picked up on those words, like to invoke emotion.
I come from a sales background, so where people shop rationally, but they buy on emotion.
You buy an emotion,
Yeah.
exactly.
Emotion is what brings it in. Like when you talk about the interview person who had that expression that triggered you to give the reaction that he wanted, it's gotta be a phenomenal tire salesman.
Exactly.
Is your family riding this car? You know, all the faces.
Exactly.
And that's how you get it done. Emotion is what opens the wallet.
Yeah.
Or sways the decision to whatever. I think the article was pretty well, it was written as non-biased as could. As far as non-biased, it was written well, but there was attention, kind of more elements of one side of that Minneapolis-St. Paul debate going on than the other, which can trigger the emotion of one direction or another. I didn't see these specific words, but just kind of, I guess the balance of what was put on there. There was more of little more commentary from the no side of the vote than the yes side of the vote. It's like they got a little more attention on it, even though they tried to keep it biased. This is where the attention was. It could have been another reporter that had the exact opposite,
Yeah.
even though they're very similar articles, just slightly based on their own opinion and how they're.
Yeah.
Jen, you had some.
Well, I was gonna say, so I think in terms of journalism, they're trying to sell the paper and the articles and the emotion, I mean, that grabbed everybody. So, job well done, journal writing in the beginning, to pull you in, ooh, emergency, I gotta read about that, oh, it was tense, I gotta read about that, you know. But I would agree with Michael too, there's more time spent reporting on the other side. I then went into the criticalness of what those people said and wanted to start going, but as far as reporting, very non-commentary, unlike, I would say, a lot of the other news today where it's, all the adjectives are so strong.
It is a business like tire sales,
Yeah.
and it's a dirty business, dirtier than insurance though.
I was struck by actually how hard it was to find the slanted nature of the article. I thought, oh, this is classic. The minute I want to exercise to show, I can't find a dang thing. Now, I did see the slamming of the gavel, and I thought, slamming, well, it's trying to show anger. Then I thought, well, if you're a reporter and you're sitting in the room and that's what the emotion was, then your responsibility is to describe it to the best of your ability for those who were not there to experience it. I could see how it was well written, and yet that was the first thing that I grabbed other than the emergency part. But yeah, I agree that it was really well written and is about as neutral as possible. Just want you to be aware of what you're reading, and also keep in mind that even pictures can make things slanted. Now, this is not an example, this is just that I'm also near the end here. Having been a photographer for different special events, I take special care in noticing more slanted pictures. And I noticed, for example, they were talking about with COVID, how so many kids had been missing out on school and togetherness. And there had been a picture of two kids and the one lying like this next to the other one who was on their laptop. And I thought, wow, what perfect positioning. The kid was sad and tired. It could have been any moment in time in that school, but it illustrated the point well, and yet, had I not, it was a slanted picture in that sense, but it also was created for that article. I mean, all they have to do is say, show me two kids, one who looks really tired, I need it for my article. But keep that in mind when you see a picture that just grabs your heartstrings and says, oh, the poor kids need to go back into school because of, look at the heartbreak. Yeah, they looked through about 20 pictures before they picked that one. Or even if you're thinking that you have listened to an interview that seems like it was rather short, or they grabbed a statement out of nowhere, make sure that you're looking at the entire interview. If it's a political related video, you go to C-SPAN to get the whole thing. C-SPAN, you can Google it. It's a great way to listen to the whole thing and make your own decision instead of getting a soundbite. Are you ready to be a dangerous consumer? with the news and with food. I appreciate your time.